Jim Jackson played for a decade and a half in the NBA. A lot of teams. Fox Sports NBA analyst, played a lot of basketball and a lot of cultures. You know, it's interesting when you watch the Warriors. Usually in sports, you see something that works and you copy it, right? And then you watch the Warriors, and they don't even look like anybody else. Like, why don't people just copy it?
Well, I mean, why didn't people copy the Showtime Lakers? Well, they didn't have Magic, they didn't have Kareem, they didn't have Worthy. You know what I mean? They didn't have Michael Cooper. So a lot of teams have tried to emulate the style in which Golden State plays, but you got to have the right players. Even if you look at what I give funny stories, Chicago Bulls. Now, early in my career, my second year, Quinn Buckner was the coach of us at the Mavericks, and he attempted to run the triangle. Well, let me tell you, we didn't have the guys, IQ-wise, that were able to run the triangle. We played the Chicago Bulls. I was like, man, our offense looks nothing like that because our personnel didn't fit the system. So despite what other teams want to do, Steph, Draymond, Clay, Poole, other guys before them, Livingston, Iguodala, those guys were perfectly fit and tailor-made for that system. You can maybe take little short iterations of what they do, but to get the complete package, you're basically going to have the same kind of players that Golden State have, and that's virtually impossible.
You know, I was talking about this earlier. I said, after 4 years in the NBA, regardless if you came out of high school, international, or college, your game is your game. You can tweak it, but I knew 4 years into LeBron's game, I knew he was obsessed by being in shape, really good. He wanted to elevate others. He made the right basketball move. He didn't have sort of the Michael, I'll take the shot. Like he was in it, and he got criticized for it, but I knew what his game was. Yeah. Now, he's become a better three-point shooter, but I knew what it is. So 4 years in with Luka, he's still bad defensively. He was awful in the second half last night, and he's not obsessed by being in the greatest shape. What he is a great scorer. Yeah. Like I keep hearing all this, well, he's got to get in better shape, and he's got to be better defensively, and I think, Jim, maybe you need to draft and develop guys around him that can, pick up the slack defensively. I don't think he's ever going to be a great defensive player. I think he's always going to be a great scorer. And this idea that after 4 years, he's going to change his game, like he needs the ball in his hands, Jim. That's just who he is. Yeah,
but here's the thing, too. I think defensively, maybe he's a better player off the ball. I think there are players in the league and in the past, present, you kind of look at Larry Bird from that perspective, where he's really good off the ball. Chris Paul, really good player on the ball, maybe not the quickest, but he understood angles that he can get steals off the ball. I think Luka has the high IQ enough to understand that. Okay, he's not going to be your best defensive player. We know that. Steph wasn't your best defensive player, but he's gotten better because he worked at it. Okay, they go to Steph, they still go at Steph. Okay, so there's ways you can work within that. Here's the dilemma that you have if you're the Mavericks and you're Jason Kidd. You don't want it to be a James Harden situation where it's Luka, pounding the basketball and you got guys standing around.
Right.
Hence is why Jalen Brunson is very important. Spencer Dinwiddie is very important. Now, this is the first time they've all three played together. So to get to the Western Conference Finals and still try to figure out how to make this thing work, post their trade, I think is a great start in a great direction for this team. But you're going to have to add another playmaker. Another guy that can go get it off the dribble, i.e. what Golden State did when they developed Jordan Poole. Dynamically, that just makes your offense that much tougher. Okay, so you're in a good position. Now, Luka is going to have to also understand and trust his teammates in the willingness to give up the ball, which I think he's done a lot in the second half of the season, because then you're going to be able to, I think, manage your load. And what I mean by that is that the smart players understand that I need to be fresher down the stretch of the game. And how can I do that? Get the ball up a little bit. I can still go get my points, but I have to be able to be fresh when they need me to be down the stretch of the game. But again, Luka is still young. We got to understand that, Colin, that he's still a young player that's maturing to understand who he is as a player, again, how to develop his basketball game at the highest level, and how to win at this level.
So the Celtics are going to win tonight. They're going to win the series. It's a bad matchup, a great defensive team and an offensive team that's falling apart. So they're going to win this thing. I really do think Golden State has one big advantage over them. Experience matters. Like, before you've won your first title, you can get really tight in those big spots. So that's a big advantage. The other one that I think is an advantage, Andrew Wiggins, they don't need his offense. They can just go say, Dre, Andrew, just go defend Tatum. We don't need your offense. Whereas Tatum has to defend, but they need his offense.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins, Jim, could be a huge factor. He is a wild card in this series. So to me, Golden State has something that Boston doesn't if they meet. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I can't believe that Joy's just sitting there letting you get away with that, talking about Miami. First of all, that right there, Joy, I'm going to take up for you. I really like this Miami team, so I'm pulling for them because I want more games, okay? I just want more games.
I'm rooting for more games. I'm a little defeated right now, Jim.
But you know what? You're right from this perspective. Wiggins doesn't have to score, but he does have to score, in particular if they play in Boston, because he has to put the ball in the basket. Now, the advantage is that when, Golden State, as we see against Dallas, goes small, they understand how to play that game better than anybody. But I will say this. A lot of the stuff they're getting on Dallas, they're able to get to the basket because Dallas doesn't have a rim protector. That's a lot different with Robert Williams. That's where I think it skews a little bit towards Boston and even Al Horford a little bit more, is that Al is in better shape. I think that year off when he didn't play, really basketball allowed him to get his body and mind right. Robert Williams can guard on the perimeter as well. So, and I'm, hoping that the two do meet because I think the intriguing storylines of a Tatum and Brown Young trying to figure out how to knock off the wily veterans in Golden State. They both have their advantages on some aspect. The experience is one thing that you're right, Colin. It bodes in favor of, Golden State. But I say this. Marcus Smart, Horford, those guys know how to play, man. Those guys are tough-minded individuals. And, yeah, they may not have won a championship like that, but the experience of being deep in the playoffs, I think, will help this Boston team.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's a really good matchup. It's the great offense against the great defense, the veterans against the kids. Mm-hmm. Like if you're doing a movie poster, it really is an interesting one. The size of Boston down low and the speed of Golden. One's hard-nosed Boston, one's super cool, innovative Cali. I agree with you. It's a better movie poster.
No. Hey, you got a lot of storylines, too. Think about it. I mean, if you're the NBA, it's the Boston Celtics, okay? Getting back to glory. And then it's the Golden State Warriors who we thought, okay, is their run over? But yet and still, here we are in a situation where Steph, who I think a lot of people have some fatigue with a little bit, and I don't know why, because greatness, I love to watch it all the time. Clay, who's still trying to get his legs up underneath him, still think he needs another year to get back to Clay. The development of their young players. And then you got Jayson Tatum and Ime Udoka. And then you have Jaylen Brown, the situation that happened earlier in the year. Could they get along? Should you break them up? All these little storylines we can play with during the course of a championship series, if these two happen to meet, that I think is so intriguing and captivating for the national audience, because you have Boston on one side who has a tremendous fan base, okay? But then you have the Golden State Warriors who also have a tremendous fan base and a following that picks up. So for the NBA, you can't lose in that scenario.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jim, Jack, great seeing you, man. Have a great weekend. Get the sticks.
All right.
Go out there and try to go under par once in your life. All right.
Yeah, all right. Hey, Joy. Pull it for
Jim.
You.
Thank you.
Pull it for you. All right.
We got like an 18% chance.
All right, one more. Hey, that's better. Hey, 18% is better than zero.
I agree.
Right. It really is. And I mean, the Warriors are California a little bit. A little cocky, a little innovative, kind of unique, have their own culture, and a little California feel to it. Boston feels like that's Boston. Tough, balls on the floor, battling for rebounds, going to get in your face defensively.
And they're a little doubted. They've had to make some adjustments.
Boston's got a chip on its shoulder.
Ime's done an incredible job, though.
Oh, it's a great job. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.